Effects of adolescent anxiety on standardized assessments. Throughout the adolescent years of one's life, many challenges are encountered. One of these challenges is the difficulty of anxiety. It is said that anxiety disorders are the most prevalent mental health concern facing adolescents today, yet they are largely undertreated. Anxiety affects many different aspects of an adolescent's life, but the area of focus for this research is how anxiety affects their performance on standardized test scores. Original data and identified problem. A large population of adolescent students struggle with anxiety, which negatively affects their performance on standardized tests. Meek High School is the school selected for this study. The data shown represents the standardized test scores for Meek High School as a whole compared to the Alabama state average. This data shows an overall view that students at Meek High School are below the state average, meaning that intervention must be made to help our students. The data in this table includes students in grades 5 through 12, while the data in the research study will focus on students in grades 5 through 8. The graph on the left shows Meek High School's math standardized test scores. The graph on the right shows ELA standardized test scores for Meek High School. There are a total of 289 students at Meek High School, ranging from grades 5 through 12. The graphs were taken from publicscorereview.com. This website receives its data from the Alabama State Department of Education, which is the reporting system for all standardized tests in the state of Alabama. Background investigation. The World Health Organization estimates that 4 million youths in the United States suffer a serious mental disorder that causes a significant impairment at home, at school, and with peers. Anxiety affects their performance on standardized tests, which are requirements given by the State Department of Education. The current scores on standardized tests are proof that students are struggling with meeting the requirements that are set. Students with increased anxiety levels score lower on standardized tests because they feel pressure to meet a certain standard. The data from Meek High School is evident that intervention needs to take place for students' performance to increase. When examining Meek High School, it is proven that a program does not exist to help students gain knowledge and skills when coping with anxiety. This is necessary because standardized tests are a state requirement, so students must be equipped to handle their feelings when they arise. Action plan. Sampling method. 30 students will be randomly selected from grades 5 through 8. 7 students will be selected from each grade level. The remaining 2 students will be selected from a random grade level to make a total of 30 students. These grades were chosen because they are considered middle school adolescent students. They are also the only students in the high school who complete the STAR assessments. Another reason these grades were selected is because these students are aware of their emotional feelings or in the middle years of taking standardized tests. They are also at an age of being honest in their answers to the GAD-7 and understanding the language that is used on the assessment. Instrumentation. The GAD-7 assessment contains 7 items for students to answer regarding the frequency of feeling certain symptoms. Symptoms listed on the assessment include feeling anxious, worried, or having trouble relaxing. Students rank these symptoms between not having symptoms at all or having them nearly every day. The STAR reading assessment consists of 34 questions and is given to students in grades 1st through 8th grade. Collaborative efforts. Collaborative efforts will be maintained through the relationship of teachers working together as a team to implement the lessons for students to develop coping skills for anxiety. Teachers will also be working with students throughout these lessons and working to create a comfortable environment since students will be taking the STAR reading assessment in their natural reading classroom environment. Action plan. Procedures. All students in grades 5 through 8 will be given the GAD-7 assessment to determine their anxiety level. Then, the STAR reading assessment will be given to all students in grades 5 through 8 in their regular reading classes. After testing, 30 random students will be selected to analyze the results of the assessments. After testing, data will be collected and a class will be implemented in the classrooms regarding anxiety and techniques for coping with it. Through the use of cognitive behavioral therapy, students will be introduced to real-life scenarios that provoke anxiety. Students will be able to implement coping skills to combat the anxiety feelings. The GAD-7 and STAR assessments will be given again after 4 months to determine any positive change. The data from the beginning and end of the study will be examined and compared to determine students' progress. Internal and external validity. To test the validity of the GAD-7 assessment, it was compared to similar assessments in relation to the questions and scores it received. In relation to the STAR assessment by Renaissance, the validity of the assessment was checked among other similar tests. Students complete the assessments and receive the anxiety intervention program in their natural school environment. This allows students to complete the assessments as they normally would, and the data is not skewed. Validity is also maintained in the study because raw results are produced through the STAR assessment being personalized and contain randomized questions. Ethical consideration, confidentiality. Instead of including names in the research, students will be identified by numbers in the data to maintain confidentiality. The study data will also only be seen by the person conducting the study. Data gathered throughout the study will be properly stored in a password-locked computer. Special populations. Accommodations will be made if there are any study participants with disabilities. If students require an aid, students will be given an aid to assist them while completing the study task. If students need assistive devices, those devices will be provided for the study. Any accommodations provided for students in the classroom will be provided for students for the entirety of the study. Accommodations will also be given for students who are English language learners. The materials used throughout the study will be given to students in their native languages if needed, and students will also be provided with an aid if one is desired. IRB and permissions. Approval for the research will be obtained by the University of West Alabama Institutional Review Board. Permission for students to participate in the research study will be obtained by the students' parents or guardians. Other ethical considerations. The research study participation is voluntary, and no student will be required to participate even if randomly selected. Student privacy will be maintained for the entirety of the research study by ensuring confidentiality, accommodating special populations, and gaining permission and IRB approval. Results. Based on the collected data at the beginning of the study, student achievement will increase on the STAR assessment as a result of the implemented action plan. By implementing strategies for students to combat feelings of anxiety through the use of cognitive behavioral therapy, student data will increase on the assessment. They will also help students score lower on the GAD-7 assessment on the severity of anxiety they have experienced. To see student achievement growth, the STAR assessment score data collected throughout the study will be closer to the state average. Based on the data in the graph presented at the beginning of the presentation, the scores received by the students at Meek High School were dropping well below the state average as the years progressed. Implementing a program to ease students' feelings of anxiety would raise these assessment scores. Reflection. Changes in the original plan. A change that would be made to the original plan would be to include an incentive for students participating in the study to maintain good attendance. The effectiveness of the study depends on the students attending school. Offering incentives for students to prioritize their school attendance ensures that students get the most out of the implemented program. Specific examples of anxiety prevention lesson topics, such as breathing exercises, restructuring thoughts, and identifying feelings, would be included in the original plan. Additional research. Additional research for the study includes whether anxiety affects one specific grade level more than the other grade level. Research could also investigate how anxiety affects students academically as a whole instead of just their scores on assessments. Practices and methods used in the classroom should be evaluated to determine whether they increase the feelings of anxiety among students. Example practices used within the classroom that might increase anxiety are public speaking, timed assignments, and extremely high expected standards. Included on this slide is a list of references used to complete the signature project.